There are truths that don't whisper. They ache. They live in the quiet disappointment after a goodbye you didn't understand. They flicker in the eyes of a man who thought he loved her, but never truly saw her. They echo in the silence, between two people still sleeping in the same bed, but whose souls haven't touched in years. What if I told you that most of what we call love is just a mirror of what we've lost, of who we wish we were, of the wounds we've never dared to name? Carl Jung didn't write fairy tales. He peeled back the layers of illusion, projection, instinct, and beneath it, he found something brutally honest, something most people are not ready to hear, that we do not fall in love with the other. We fall in love with what we see of ourselves in the other. And until we wake up from that dream, we will mistake fantasy for connection and call it romance. But what happens when the dream shatters? What remains after the projection fades? Have you ever looked at someone you once loved and wondered, who were you really? And maybe deeper still, who was I when I loved you? If this touched something inside you, let me know in the comments. I read them all. Let's walk through the shadows together, not to escape the truth, but to find the love that begins where illusions end, because this is not just a story about men and women. It's the story of your soul and what it's been yearning to remember, the mirror of desire and the mask of love. It begins innocently. Glance, a warmth in the chest, a sense that they understand you in a way no one else ever has. You tell yourself it's fate, that finally, you've found someone who completes the pieces you never knew were missing. But Jung warned us, this isn't understanding, this isn't fate, it's projection. You're not seeing them. You're seeing your own unconscious, dressed in their skin. For men, this is the anima, a hidden feminine image that lives inside the male psyche, shaped by his earliest memories, his unmet needs, his dreams of softness, beauty, and rescue. He meets a woman, and something ancient awakens, not because she is who he needs, but because she reflects what he's never embraced within himself. He falls for her tenderness, her intuition, her stillness, not realizing he is chasing the parts of himself he has long abandoned. He doesn't want her. He wants what she represents, and when life demands she stop being a mirror and start being a human, the illusion collapses. He says she changed, but she didn't. Only the fantasy did. That collapse? It's the psyche withdrawing its projection. It's painful, disorienting, but it's the beginning of real sight. It's the start of maturity, because only after the projection dies can love truly begin. The woman's mirror, the animus. Now, flip the mirror. A woman meets a man. He feels grounded. He speaks with clarity. He walks with strength. She feels safe, seen, anchored. And so she leans in, not just to him, but to the image her soul has been carrying since she was a child. This is the animus, the inner masculine spirit of the female psyche. He is protector, healer, guide, sometimes tyrant. He shows up in stories as the knight, the wise king, the rational voice. And when a woman finds a man who echoes that inner figure, she feels it must be love. But it's not him she's falling for. It's the echo of her own unconscious, longing to be heard. When he falters, when he cries, when he becomes human instead of heroic, the spell breaks. And like the man, she too is left staring at someone she thought she knew, and wondering if she ever really saw him at all. That heartbreak isn't cruelty. It's awakening. And it's in that moment, if she's willing, she can begin to integrate her own strength, her own logic, her own leadership. He was never meant to carry it all for her. The tragedy of modern love. Most people never reach this point. They remain in loops, projecting, idealizing, disillusioned. They chase new faces, hoping the next one will finally get it right. But all they're doing is swapping mirrors, one illusion for another. Jung called it a tragedy, not because love is broken, but because we enter love half asleep. We don't love the other. We love the parts of ourselves we've disowned, until we are forced to see they can't save us. They were never meant to. Have you ever looked back at a love that ended and realized you weren't mourning them? You were mourning who you were when you loved them. That's the soul grieving the projection. That's the psyche growing up. Even a simple can be the beginning of healing. You're not alone here, and maybe that's the most brutal truth of all. Most heartbreak doesn't come from betrayal. It comes from the death of illusion. But that death is the soil of rebirth. Shadow work in relationships. Now we arrive at the part no one teaches us. What happens after the projection breaks? After the disappointment? After the fantasy falls away? After the partner no longer reflects back the dream we needed them to carry? Most people run. They say he changed, she isn't who I thought she was, and they move on, seeking someone new to cast the same shadow onto. But Jung offered a different path. He said, stay. Not necessarily in the relationship, but in the discomfort, in the mirror, in the broken pieces of what you thought was love. Because that's where the shadow lives, and that's where healing begins. The shadow is not evil. It is simply what you've denied, what you've repressed, what you're too afraid to see in yourself. In relationships, it shows up everywhere. The man who accuses her of being manipulative is often denying his own desire to control. The woman who says he's emotionally unavailable is often ignoring the parts of her that fear vulnerability too. We don't just project the anima and animus. We project our wounds, our fears, our guilt, our unmet needs, and so the other becomes a screen, and we call it love. But what if you could pause, not to blame, but to look inward, to ask, why did I need them to be this way? What part of me felt incomplete? What hurt inside me was hoping they'd heal it? That's shadow work. That's the path Jung called individuation. Not becoming perfect, but becoming whole. And wholeness. That's where love begins, not ends. 5. Beyond fantasy, into real love. Here's the truth. Real love is quiet. It's not butterflies or obsession. It's not someone who fits your fantasy, but someone who sees you beyond it. It's sitting across from another human and knowing they are not your healer, not your savior, not your other half. They are a mirror, yes, but also a mystery. They are walking their own path, holding their own pain, seeking their own integration. And you are doing the same. Together, you don't complete each other. You witness each other. You grow together, stumble together, learn to hold space instead of holding expectations. And yes, sometimes that hurts, because there's no illusion to hide behind anymore. But in that rawness, that honesty, that shared humanness, there is something sacred, a love that is no longer built on need, but on presence. This space is yours too, if your heart whispered something during this part, write it below, because someone else might be waiting for your words. The masculine, the feminine, and the return to wholeness. Carl Jung didn't believe that men and women were the same. He didn't reduce our differences to social conditioning. Instead, he saw something older, something deeper, alive within each of us. He saw the feminine and masculine not as genders, but as energies, two forces, two poles of the psyche, each carrying wisdom, each carrying wounds. The feminine, not just softness, but intuition, not just emotion, but the wisdom of the body, not just nurture, but the mystery of nature herself. The masculine, not just strength, but clarity, not just action, but structure, not just logic, but the sacred fire of direction and purpose. These energies live in all of us, regardless of sex, gender, orientation. And until we learn to honor both, to integrate the feminine within the man and the masculine within the woman, we stay split. We stay lost. We chase each other to reclaim what we've abandoned in ourselves. And that chase feels like love, but it's not. It's longing. It's compensation. It's a call to wholeness, disguised as desire. Jung believed that every relationship is an opportunity to meet these inner forces, to see in the other what you need to remember in yourself. But this only works if you're willing to see clearly, to let go of illusions, to stop demanding the other carry what's been broken inside you. That's not romance. That's responsibility. And with that comes a different kind of beauty. A mature beauty. A love that does not burn, fast and fade, but roots itself deep, in truth, in presence, in soul. What most people will never do. Here's what most people will never do. They will never ask, why do I keep choosing the same kind of person? They will never look at the pain in their chest and wonder, is this grief or the death of an illusion? They will run from heartbreak to distraction, from relationship to relationship, from face to face, hoping this time will be different. But nothing changes. Because the mirror hasn't changed. Because they haven't changed. Jung didn't promise comfort. He didn't offer an easy way out. He invited you into the dark corners of your soul, into the memories that shaped your projections, into the fears that shaped your desires, and he said, if you have the courage to walk through that, you will meet not just another person, but yourself, the real self. Not the one who performs, pleases, or pretends, but the one who watches, who waits, who knows. And when two people meet from that place, not as halves, but as wholes, something extraordinary happens. Love becomes sacred. If this journey opened something in you, let me know in the comments. I'd be honored to hear what moved through your heart. So here we are, not at the end of a love story, but at the beginning of something more honest, more raw, more human. You were never meant to carry someone else's fantasy, and no one was ever meant to complete you. You were meant to remember that love is not about possession or perfection or projection. It is about seeing, not just the other, but yourself, in all your depth, your longing, your light, and your shadow. Carl Jung taught that until we integrate the hidden parts of ourselves, we will continue to call the past fate and the wound love. But once you see clearly, once you reclaim the anima within, the animus within, the shadow you buried, you no longer need another to reflect what you forgot, because now you carry it inside. This is not the kind of love that sparks headlines. It will not always be romantic, but it will be real. And real love heals. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not crazy for wanting something deeper. You are simply waking up. And in that awakening, you're no longer seeking someone to complete your story. You're choosing someone to walk beside you as you write it. Together, whole. Not rescuing, not fixing, but growing. If this reflection stayed with you, if something in it whispered truth, then this space is yours. Leave a comment, even a single word. You never know who else might be reading, quietly needing to hear it too. Like this video if it spoke to your soul. Share it with someone your heart thought of while watching. And if you want more reflections like this, you know where to find us. Subscribe. Until next time, be gentle with your heart and brave with your truth. Stoic prowess.